When I returned to Korea, I went to Sungmyeong Girls High School. That's a private high school. In Korea, not many public high school. Most of them are private. My teenage year was really different from what American teenagers go through. All I did was to go to school in the morning and go to church on Sunday and study at home, help my mother, that's all. My favorite teacher he was my homeroom teacher, and he taught physics. My family was so poor and I was struggling, and he said, so how your family is going to live? So I said, I'm going to quit high school. I'm going to go to nursing school, and I want to become nurse's aide. And then I'm going to support my family. And he said, that's a wonderful idea, but I think you need to graduate from high school first and then go to college. And he said, don't worry about the tuition, because the tuition was very high. And I will pay your tuition, and I will introduce you this one family so you can teach their 3 children, and then you can make some money and give that money to your family. Just months after I graduated from high school, Korean War broke.
I was transferred to another high school. There I saw for the first time Russian soldiers were coming. See, the Potsdam conference got together. They agreed to partition South Korea into North and South Korea. So Russian soldiers would occupy North Korea and United States, South Korea. When North and South Korea was divided, nobody consulted the Korean people themselves. It's a UN, it's a big power. They themselves arbitrarily decided.
That was a sad time. My father cried a lot. We didn't know about that division. And then one day my father came home and said, I have a bad news. Korea is not going to be one country. Superpowers divided us into 2. And North Korea is going to be a communist country. So we cannot stay here. Let's go. That's why he said, leave everything behind and let's just walk. So we walked and went to South Korea. That was a hard time. We walked at night, quietly. We cannot make any sound. If we make sound that baby cries, then over the top of the hill, there were Russian soldiers with a gun. They just shoot. We had a good guide. He took us, across the river, across the mountain, and hiding during the daytime. And we slept during the daytime, and at night we crawled off. And at that time, just before we left, 1-year-old baby brother died. They didn't have any, immunization was available, so he had smallpox. So we buried him, then we left North Korea. That's why we lost him. And then a week later, we came to Kaesong. Kaesong was the South Korea at that time. And when we arrived at Kaesong, all the U.S. Military personnel were there. They were all chewing gum. Everybody was chewing gum. So I thought, wow, how come they all chew gum? Grown-ups chewing gum? And then they gave us a chocolate, throwing chocolate, And then DDT powder from head to toe, sprayed, all over. We went into Seoul. Then my father found our relatives and his friends from Shanghai. So we found one house that we were able to live together.
My father, because he was very trained as a civil engineer, he was made head of the provincial government of the Department of Civil Engineer right after the Second World War, until communist government established. he was about to be arrested to be as a traitor. So he escaped from north to south by himself first. Then later we joined the Crossing Torres Parallel. After we escaped from Seoul, which was captured by North Korean army, we were hiding in rural area for about a couple of months, during which time my mother was kidnapped. So then we escaped from Seoul to rural area. We walked about 1 week on foot. We encouraged ourselves, we kept our good spirit by singing a cappella for quartet. 4 of us, hymns and also the popular songs. Then we are hiding in the rural area. About another month or so, then we learned that General MacArthur launched the Incheon landing. At that time, I volunteered to draft for military service, and they drafted me into some kind of intelligence-related English translation officer. So several of us was taken to American U.S. airplane in the Kimpo airport. And they dropped me off. They dropped us off at the Hamhung airport, waiting for the next order to move. He was ordered to retreat suddenly. It took several days, about a week or so, to retreat, massive retreat of the 10th Corps to Hungnam Harbor, from which they were evacuated to Japan Sea. There was many North Korean refugees. Thousands were walking toward the Hungnam. So I then, together with the refugees, I got on one of the ships. All the men and the children were going on that rope into the deck. Deck was sardine jam-packed. It was a cold winter wind. You hold onto each other, otherwise you blow off. You cannot move. So the captain somehow he found out me that I can speak English. He took me to the PA system where he could announce, the whole ship was loudly heard. So then he would give instruction. Please don't go there. Please do this. Please do. So it took me about 3-4 days to the Koji Island. I didn't stay in Koji Island because I was part of the Korean army. Then from there, then I went to Seoul. The Seoul was being evacuated because the Chinese army started coming in. So my family, except my grandma, got on the train. Last train leaving. The train was jam-packed. We were able to, get the top of the roof of the train. And that train goes whenever tunnel. You have to really lower the head so that the smoke goes through. So it took us 3 days for the train to come from Seoul to Busan, 3 days. Then we have no place to go in Busan. So we saw the small church in front of the train station. We had some blankets, so we slept on outside the yard of the churchyard, looking at the star. My father, myself, sister, 2 brothers. No money, no food. So they needed manpower, labor at the dock. So I worked there carrying the huge 30 or 50 pounds luggage, the boxes carrying from one load to another. I worked at the end, I was given a few dollars of daily wages. On the way, I stopped by the market. I bought 3 squid and a small bag of rice.